Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lax rats alike, welcome back to another episode of the Crease Dive. Today is Thursday, August 3rd. The PLL is heading to Baltimore, and let me be the first to congratulate Lyle Thompson on being named the MVP of the 2023 MSL season. Just an unbelievable summer that Lyle's been putting up here, and any team would be lucky to have him on their roster. I'm Jordy from Barstool. With me, as always, we've got my good friend and yours, the Take Smith himself. We've got Dukes on the mic, and we are also fortunate enough to be joined by recurring guest, friend of the program, Nick Ossello. So, gentlemen, how we doing today, and how we feeling heading into the week?
A big word that you said. You're fortunate to be joined by me. To start things off on a positive note, actually worries me a little bit more than if you were like, unfortunately, everybody else canceled and we had to have Nick. So I'll say I'm doing great now that it was a positive tee up here.
Dukes. Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's you have an ability to rub people the right way on Twitter, and that's what we love about you. You're a shit stirrer, you're an agitator, you're our favorite agitator on the internet. So we'll keep the pleasantries rolling until, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes into this episode, and then we can all get after each other. Yeah, then it'll just evolve into chaos. Speaking of chaos, now, Dukes, how we feeling? How are your mentions? Anything cooling down as the days have been kind of waning on past the Lyle debacle?
I learned not to drink and tweet this week. I noticed myself going back into the arguments every time I was drinking, and then I just learned the mute button. So I've been muting a lot of people, muting a lot of conversations. But it's been a fun week. I like to get into the mix on Twitter. I like these powerful arguments. I did not know that it was going to go down some alleys that it went down, but it was a good week for Lax Twitter. I mean, a lot of shit happened.
Yeah, so we're Nick, you've been acting as the presiding as the honorable judge, really on all things Lax Twitter, centric. Are we calling it still Lax Twitter, right? It can't be Lax X. Although Lax X would be cool, like Lax with two X's, kind of like TJ Maxx, like just TJ Lax. But you've been, I mean, this is probably like your third or fourth case that you've had to preside over.
Second, actually. And what's actually very funny about that is the Ottawa Capitals Lax was the first guy that photoshopped me as a judge. And in the second ever case, he was actually the loser of the case. But it's good. It's good to see people riled up. I think this was one of the first cases in which it publicly crossed the racism line, which was always an interesting, fun one. And I overall think it's a good thing because it really was reflective of how the internet acts as a whole. It wasn't just an echo chamber of lacrosse takes. You spend enough time arguing online, eventually somebody's going to call you a racist. And I'm surprised that it took this long for a quote unquote prominent member of the lacrosse community to be called as such. So I think it's a step forward. And I think that there's a positive spin to it because welcome to the internet, lacrosse Twitter. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was also good in the sense that people are calling me an idiot more around which like I knew was going to happen. But when people that don't watch lacrosse are texting me and they're sending me memes of like me, like they're like my friends busting my balls, like, oh, you are a racist because of this take and like all this shit. And like they see the dialogue. That's good for the sport. I did not expect to be called a racist over the take. I will say, I think the most underrated tweet of the week was by Jordy, and I got called the racist. And somebody goes, "Buddy, you should see what he says about the white lacrosse players."
Well, and let me preface this entire thing by clearly stating, Dukes, you were wrong. You were dead wrong in your assessment. And the truth of the matter is the Cannons are. You literally took a U-turn and went the wrong way and just went around the entire world and wound up at the same spot that you should have. And so let me start off by criticizing you just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Right conclusion. What a disaster of a way that you got there. I mean, it just really didn't make any sense that he can't play with the right speed, the PLL, the differences. And I was like, okay, so good to know that he is an idiot. But the Cannons are objectively better without Lyle Thompson. So the roundabout take and the way that you got there, and let me further criticize you starting off the bat, to double and triple and quadruple and drink and just get in these pissing shit matches. If you stopped after one day, that would have been magical. I'm still seeing, like, have a great day, have a great life. I have real estate in your head. And the cherry on top of Lyle Thompson winning the MVP of the MSL just kind of brought it all back to life. And what's going to be very interesting is the next 5 years, anytime Lyle Thompson does anything, it's all going to circle back to how big of an idiot would you be if you said that this guy can't play lacrosse? So unfortunately, I think you're married to this idea that you hate Lyle Thompson, even though that's not true. It was how you got there that was the big shit stirrer.
See, I don't even know what 5 times down will be, but I'll 5 times down on this take. People are telling me, throwing me his assists and everything. I don't necessarily think that assists equals good ball movement. I think the ball movement with the Cannons this year to the past 2 years that they've had him, and I know it's different coaching staff, it's different players. That 2021 team, people were hyped up about that roster, hyped up about the Quirk thing. I have receipts of people in the lacrosse community being pumped that they had Quirk as their coach. So I think that the ball movement this year wouldn't necessarily fit his style of play. And I hate when people keep bringing it back to box. I'm not talking about box. I'm not talking about the speed of box.
Yeah.
If he was on the Chaos, he'd be like the best player. He'd be the best player on the Chaos. I'm not saying that. There's certain players that I think he'd fit with. I'm not sure the Cannons fit that.
Well, and that's the exact point, was like, if you're structuring an offense and you have Jordan Wolf, Tom Schreiber, Michael Sowers, maybe Josh Byrne, maybe not, like all these guys who can just absolutely slice and dice and ball movement is key. Great. If you were to put Lyle Thompson on an attack unit with, again, Sowers and Wolf, it wouldn't be a great fit, because he's the guy that's going to draw the attention of the entire defense, and you need off-ball players. Eric Law. We'll throw Sergio Perkovic out there. I know he's not having the best year, but still, like, those guys that know how to hunt and find the space backside. And all you had to do is just be like, hey, here's why. Even if you did, the fact that you were still doubling and tripling down, and that's what I love about it. Is, Jordy, you mentioned it before we started recording. There's going to be a clip that's pulled from this, what we're talking about right now, and it's going to be 15 seconds, and it's going to be followed up by a point that explains it beautifully. Could happen to any one of us at this point. Yeah. But the clip that hits Twitter, it's just the most beautiful thing about the internet. Is it's a race to the bottom. No one is like, I wonder what Duke said to follow that up. They just go, you know what? I'm pissed off, and I'm going to bring it up online and get mad about it.
I think what's really great about that is, like, so on Twitter, it's impossible to have any sort of nuanced conversation. If you try to go to Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it and have any sort of nuanced conversation, like, you're going to the wrong place. You go to Twitter because you want to bitch and complain at people, and then you want to get off like a couple random dick jokes. Anyone trying to have a nuanced conversation there, you're barking up the wrong tree. So then you have a podcast, a platform where you can go on for as long as we possibly want, where we can say and kind of maneuver our way around this sort of conversation, where Dukes didn't just say, hey, Lyle Thompson stinks at lacrosse and the Cannons are so much better without him. There was nuance to it. But the fact that clips are here, and so now we just have a 50 second clip. And like, that's what it is. Like, no one gives a fucking shit about the rest of the episode. Everyone's like, all right, this 50 seconds is all I need to hear to know for a fact that Dukes hates Lyle Thompson, is a racist, has like probably killed 4 puppies in his life, and doesn't know anything about ball. So clip culture is incredible. And it's just, I'll tell you what, it's the way where we're at as a society of a people. I think that, we truly deserve clip culture. We don't deserve anything more.
Well, and it literally all started with COVID and everybody being eternally online. And everybody learned during COVID that you have to pick a side. And if you're not on my side, then you're Hitler. And I really think that the summation of all of this was everybody saying, you either agree with everything that I say, or you're promoting the systemic racism that keeps everybody down, and you're a white man and you're a piece of shit and you're associated with Barstool. It really is this fantastic, you're either with me or you're with Nazi Germany. And eventually every argument is going to deviate into that. If, talk about nuance being out, even if there was nuance, they're still going to say, well, guess what? They're going to throw every term out there. The amount of times, and let me say this, that the worst Twitter account out there has to be that Adlam guy. It doesn't matter what anybody says. He's going to throw the book at you with, you are white privilege, dog whistle, racist, Barstool. And like, no matter what the topic is, that's being forced into the conversation. So, you want to blame anybody for this whole thing, blame COVID for making everybody eternally online and having to force people to choose sides about race when it was about the restructuring of a fucking PLL offense.
There was so much like him being like, Dukes isn't, I never said Dukes was racist. And then it's like, yet. Like, as if it was inevitable that I was going to become racist at one point or another. But I thought that was a fun little like tidbit. I had to mute that guy. Didn't want to even give him the satisfaction of being blocked. But yeah, I mean, just going back, just to kind of let people know my thought process. I had people text me, and someone texted me the comparison to Connor Fields MVP season, and then take him away from the chaos during the bubble, and they go on their run. So there is instances of viewing effect being real. Do I think Lyle Thompson is a good player? I'm going to go on the hot take. Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I just want people. I want to clear the air on that. I'm going to say yes.
Well, the other tough part that was, I mean, semi-frustrating. I didn't care that much. I didn't care certainly as much as you did, Dukes. Holy smokes! Is really that it was packaged up as, oh, he's just saying a ridiculous take. Like everybody wants to be the take guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a take. It was just an opinion and a reasonable conclusion. And everybody was like, oh, he's just spouting the hot take, crazy guy, wacky thing to try and get clicks. If I was listening to that episode, I probably wouldn't have even singled out that you were even bringing anything into it other than, oh, the Cannons restructured their offense. Lyle Thompson is not a part of it and they're better off for it. But the fact that everybody rushed to claiming that you were like trying to manufacture a take, that's another stupid thing that that might be my least favorite thing about society, aside from like 150 other things, is you have an opinion and it just is like, oh, that's just, you're trying to be the hot take, crazy, wacky guy. It's like, I'm really not. I'm just talking. It's okay to not be a take guy.
I think that one of my favorite things that I saw throughout the entirety of this ordeal, is it Adam Levy? Is that who I'm thinking of? Yeah. So NLL guy, he mentioned like, hey, like Dukes isn't a racist. He's just a dumbass. Like he is just so dumb to have this opinion. And I thought that really hit the nail on the head, because it's not Dukes being this like mastermind, like sitting behind the scenes with like puppet strings, like just kind of perfectly crafting this hot take that he knows is going to turn into a hot take grenade to throw into Lax Twitter. And it's also not a guy who's right. It's just a guy who, we get in front of a microphone for, an hour to an hour and a half once a week. We say what's on our mind. And sometimes the things that are on our mind are just like baffling. I would though like to kind of run this through though the Court of Appeals. Like I do think that we can get to a point where maybe we can get enough people to listen to enough of this episode to where they understand where Dukes is coming from. Because right now, like I agree with you that Dukes, his thought process is it's cluttered with jackassery, but I think though it's not quite as wrong as you think it is.
Dukes, can you state exactly? And I've already given you the answer.
So I would like to speak on behalf of my client real quick.
Yeah.
I would just, because I've had enough time to think about this. I've been able to digest it from the start to the finish. And I think like at no point did Dukes ever say that Lyle Thompson is a bad lacrosse player. In fact, he's come out and said numerous times that he's one of the best in the world.
That's not the argument, though.
But here's the thing. So what I'm like, now I'm not a car guy, so this might be a metaphor that just doesn't work out. But like Lyle Thompson is like a Ferrari, right? And so you wouldn't. The rest of the Cannons last year might have been like a Subaru Outback. No offense to Subaru owners out there.
I have a Subaru Outback in the garage.
I kind of figured that you did. You
Watch your mouth.
Crunchy granola, Colorado, fucking hiking.
I live in Idaho, so I'm like a gritty Yellowstone guy.
That's kind of fire.
But either way, I would imagine that if you put the engine of a Ferrari into your Subaru Outback, eventually like that would be too powerful for it to work. So like at some point, the Subaru Outback is better off with just having a Subaru engine. And I think that that's kind of like Dukes isn't saying that the Cannons offense is better without Lyle because he's a bad player. They're almost better off because like you don't want to have the best player in the world on that offense where it's like that offense, they just need all guys who are kind of similar capabilities to just kind of snap the ball around. Like, again, he said, when you said that the ball dies in Lyle's stick, a lot of people took a lot of offense to that, thinking that
he's a selfish player.
They thought that you were saying that he's a selfish player. And I don't think that that's what you were saying.
No.
I think when you have Lyle Thompson on your team, the best player on the planet right now, the game plan is probably, let's give the ball to that guy, the really, really good guy. Let's give him the ball and let like something happen. The only thing is like the rest of the guys, like that's where I think that's especially where the box and field like divergent is at like the biggest, because like I think that off ball movement in the box game is just so much better than it is in the field game. Maybe that's because they focus on it more. Maybe that's because you can like literally tackle a guy to set an off ball pick, but like the off ball movement in box is so much. So like you can have the ball in Lyle's stick and someone's going to get to the perfect spot open for him. And then that's where he's going to get all of his assists, where, you try to do the same thing with the Cannons offense. Some of those guys might not get open nearly as much as they would, when he's playing with the Swarm or playing with Six Nations, or like you were saying earlier, if he was playing in that chaos offense where it's all box guys and you're going to have Dane Smith figuring out a way to Dane Smith. He's like 6'8", biggest body out there. And somehow he still has 10 yards of space around him because he's so good off ball. So I just think that as a fit, he was almost too good for that offense. And you bring everyone, 6 guys of the same caliber together, I think that kind of gels a little bit more. Then again, I'm not a car guy. So if like people are like, dude, you could put a Ferrari engine in a Subaru, like, all right, that's cool. Whatever. I'm not a car guy, but I would imagine that that's at some point, like less is more. And that's what's happening with this Cannons offense.
What I'm begging people to do online is to not compare box to field. Like it really is wild. And that's why this was one of my favorite things, is because there were just layers to the stupidity. Dukes had a stupid reasoning to get to a correct take. And I understand, Jordy, I hate to say it, you're relatively right. I think that analogy was an interesting one. I personally might not have gone with cars if I don't know anything about cars. However,
I don't know much about a lot of things. I just know about
a little about a lot.
Yeah. You could have said it's like trying to, braise a Wagyu steak. How about that? Maybe keep it in the meat. Just throw that on the grill, keep it in its roll. But the layers of it were beautifully stupid. Starting with Dukes is an idiot. Dukes, blah, blah, blah. Simple, smooth brain take is Dukes is a racist. The Galaxy Brain 5D chess take is that this was a coordinated hit piece job by the PLL and Barstool to discredit Lyle Thompson because he chose not to play in the PLL. That's my favorite reasoning behind anything ever. But to your point, Jordy, the thing that drives me nuts about box Twitter in particular, they can't take a joke. For being like the funny, wacky Canadian, we're all friendly, they are the least funny, most 90-degree cement corner angle buttoned up. If you're not talking about box lacrosse in the way we are, then I'm pissed off and that the PLL is a joke. Meanwhile, the PLL's marketing efforts have been fantastic. And I say blown any lacrosse organizations, out of the league. People are wearing, Michael Sowers jerseys and Apple jerseys. Maybe not use Apple in this argument or by any means, but like just nationwide, PLL's done a great job. I think the NLL has a better product, but to take what Lyle Thompson does in box and try and translate it to field is comparing apples to Ferraris. It doesn't make any sense. Lyle Thompson holding the ball with his stick in indoor, and Jordy, this is where you were correct. There is constant motion on offense. You have 30 seconds. You can cross-check. You can set picks. You can borderline tackle people. The rule set in PLL, you cannot do that. So Dukes, again, hate to say that you're right, but the ball doesn't necessarily die in his stick, but the rule book is not created in a way which allows people to hunt space and feeds and have the same quickness that you'll see in indoor. And this whole PLL NLL pissing match always finds its way into arguments like this. So it's why I branded you as the winner, because again, you weren't inherently incorrect. And once you actually get a little bit more nuanced, which I hate nuance, it actually makes even more sense. But the box community refuses because Lyle Thompson can play quick because it's box. It's not the same thing at all.
And the thing with the Cannons offense, especially, is what I keep coming back to. If you plopped Lyle, like this was where the take kind of stemmed from. If you plopped Lyle and put him on the Cannons right now, he's like, hey, I want to play. I'm not so sure that I would mess up that attack line right now. Who would you take out? MVP candidate Asher Nolting, MVP candidate Marcus Holman, and Cav is having a rejuvenation, and he's finding his role as like the third guy. So I'm not so sure where he fits, which is crazy to say. Now, I'll go back.
Clip that and post it, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, and just going off to the clips when people are like, have you even considered that the Cannons have a new coach and they added new offensive pieces? It's like, yeah, man, I talk about lacrosse for an hour every week. I kind of hit on that. But yeah, I don't really know where Lyle will fit in this year. Next year is a different story. You reevaluate every single season, players you got in, players that are coming out. But
well, and he's a player that you have to build around too. Like he's not the guy that you can plug into an already existing system. Like again, using the Cannons, you have Marcus Holman, great outside shooter, Asher Nolting, who's going to command the respect of the defense, and Matt Kavanaugh, the do-it-all lefty who can play on the opposite side of the field, hunt space, score, dodge. Like again, you plug Lyle Thompson in there, it might not make the most sense, because if you're building an offense, great way to do it is to put pieces around him. Like, yeah, maybe you take Asher Nolting out because he's going to command the respect and you can try and find Marcus Holman on the backside, but then you're taking Asher Nolting out, and Lyle Thompson can certainly use physicality. I feel like it's not talked about just how damn physical he can be when he backs down opposing players, but let's not compare his physicality to Asher Nolting's. It's compiling an offense in which you have strengths and weaknesses, and Lyle Thompson is not going to fit in every single offense as good as other players are, which only makes it even more beautiful that everybody's claiming that, well, because you said Lyle Thompson doesn't fit in the offense, you're an idiot. Well, then you plug him in with three quick, shifty players and watch him not have any space to operate. Watch him not have somebody to feed the ball to. Watch him not have high IQ off-ball players, and that offense will take a dump every time they go on the field.
And just real quick, so like I know you haven't played with Lyle, but you're at least closer than either of us have been, and you've played with guys of at least closer to similar caliber than Dukes and I have. But like when you get a guy
that's pretty safe bet.
Well, I mean, I
one time saved Jared Newman's shot.
Yeah, I ain't getting in front of that thing.
Well, here's the thing: as a guy who's played D3 and currently the best player in the PLL is Cross Ferrara, I'm technically above everybody. But what I'm getting like is there a point where there are guys like Lyle where everybody else on the field, like you defer to that guy? Like it's not that you can't just plug him into an offense and let him be a role player, because he wouldn't be able to do that, but because everyone else on the team is like I just feel like there have to be some of those guys out there where it doesn't matter if you're also playing with like the best players in the world. It's like, shit, like this guy is so good that just like instinctually I'm going to defer to him and make sure that I get him the ball because he's that guy.
Yeah. And using hate that I have to use box as an example, because when I was playing PLL, we didn't have a guy like that. So like the example I would use is John Grant Jr. when I was playing for the Mammoth. Now I was doing defense, but the entire offense knew we need to get the ball to Junior because he is a step above every single person. And you really only get that when you have, a player that is the best in the world at one specific thing. Like Lyle, I would say, is the most talented and creative player in the world. It's just strictly talent, strictly creative. The best player I've ever played against is Jordan Wolf. He was just faster than everybody else. There was nothing that you could do to stop it. And if you didn't prepare every single time, you were going to get dusted. Playing against the Lizards when we were a defensive unit for the Outlaws, Rabel was the guy. He was going to initiate. He was going to be the guy up top that their offense deferred to. So what makes that interesting is now you have to scheme defensively on how to stop that. Jordan Wolf, you have to slide early because he's going to get space from his defenseman. You don't slide early and get to his hands above GLE. He's going to beat the slide and he's going to score. You look at Rabel, same thing. You need to slide early, which means you're going to have space on the backside for him to throw a bad assist pass at his attackman's feet. We would always decide to give that up. And with Lyle Thompson, the tough thing is that he toys with the entire defense. He's not a player that blows by every single defenseman that he's on. He'll post them up at 5-5. He's the best player of all time, maybe him or John Grant Jr., at getting to that 5-5 island. Is he going to go underneath? Is he going to go over the top? We have to respect that, so the defense is hedging out to him. But he's also creative and talented enough that when we start hedging out, he's going to throw a perfect pass to the backside. Dukes, as you mentioned, people could make the argument that it dies in his stick, but while it's dying in his stick, he is actually breaking down the entire defense. But that's an offensive choice that you get to make. Let's have the entire defense gravitate towards Lyle Thompson. We don't slide early. He's going to do something crazy. We slide early. He's going to find the hole. But you need to build the offense around that, and the Cannons did not have the pieces in place to do that.
100%. And last year, as people keep referring to talking to me about last season with the Cannons, that's not what I'm talking about at all. Last year was just a wash. The 2021 team was pretty damn good. They were a couple goals away from probably being like a 4 seed, 3 seed, just because like that score differential and a couple goals go their way. But yeah, just what you said about him playing at 5-5, posting up, he gets the assist on that hypothetical play. That doesn't necessarily mean good ball movement and the Cannon style right now. By the way, the number one efficient offense, according to Joe Keegan, since the 2009 erection of the PLL or whatever. Surrection.
Are you talking insurrection over there, racist Dukes?
Are you talking boners or January 6th?
What's the difference?
Two of your favorite things.
Yeah, what's the difference? No, but I just think that the Cannons offense is just unselfish style of play. I think that it's also, by the way, brave of me to admit, but I'm calling it now. Lyle will either move on, go to another team, and he will win MVP. He'll end up like with the Chaos, and they'll win 3 titles. But it's just going to be interesting to see what the Cannons do. I mean, their offense looks legit.
Lyle's and I was talking to Cav the other day, and he was like, "This has been a breath of fresh air." And in the same way, my criticism of the Redwoods would be relevant to this kind of discussion that we're having right now. You have Jones and Perkovic. Do you want a big bruising midfield? And then you have midfield. boners.
Erection.
You have Pennell, you have Garnsey, you have all these different pieces that aren't really meshing together under a cohesive, here's the style and brand of our offense. So like you put Lyle Thompson on the Redwoods, how is he going to play with Pennell and Garnsey? Because Garnsey's going to do the American version, like the New Hampshire version, lefty. I'm trying to like do all this weird shit with my left hand. Pennell's going to go either way. So does Lyle clear space? Does Ryder clear space? As far as offensive efficiency goes, I think the number one most important thing is having a cohesive identity on what you want to do, who's going to initiate, what is your role offensively? Right. And I don't think that's easy to do. And it's something that you need to keep in mind for trades and for everything like that. It's why I think old coaches sometimes are very hit or miss, because they might be like, oh, we're going to run this style. And it's like, no. Like, find the players to run the style that works for them. You're more putting up like guardrails for a river to flow through, as opposed to college coaches who can kind of get a fresh batch of players and say, here is our offensive identity. Let's develop you to fit into it. You already have the offensive identity of every player. You saw them play for 4 years in college. They're not going to tweak that like a college kid can. You need to have these guardrails and systems in place to make sure that the offense that you're running fits the players, not having the players fit an offensive scheme.
Seems like a pretty solid argument for why there should probably be some GMs in the PLL exactly. rather than just
Holy
coaches.
Shit. Yeah, GMs that are separate from the coach. When the coach and the GM is the same person and you're like, hey, coach, you mind if I get paid more and I might not come to training camp if that's not the case? But also I'm really dedicated to the team. Some interesting dynamics there.
It is, and it's also I think we're getting into year 4 or 5 of the PLL, and I think that relationships between players and certain coaches are forming and are all at a peak.
Or imploding on themselves.
Right, either or, and the coaches are getting so blinded by like their love for their player or their hate for a player. So I think that GMs have to come sooner rather than later. Do you want to be a GM?
No, I would decline the position to be a GM. And what's interesting about that, I'll start off by serious and then I'll get back to being like wacky, funny, blah, 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 type of guy. It really is like, I wish you could take like the marketing arm and the content from the PLL and merge it with how the NLL is structured, with the home teams, with the agreements with the arenas, with the Players Association. Like, I would very much encourage you to get Zach Courier on this episode or on another episode to talk about how is the NLL structured, how is the PLL structured, because he's the head of the Players Association for the NLL. Mm-hmm. It is so buttoned up and dialed. And I remember when I was a rookie, or it might have been year 2, I don't know. It was all one disaster. I signed a contract, and then a couple of the players reached out to me and were like, hey, Nick, what the fuck? We're in a lockout right now because they're not signing the CBA. And I was like, what do you mean a lockout? First off, how am I supposed to know about this? Second off, if I join a lockout, I'm the first guy that's like, okay, well, we actually have leverage because if we sign the CBA, it applies to Nick Ossello. So we're not signing it. And the reason I bring that up is because, again, the trumors in the PLL have always been very interesting because there's a lack of transparency between the league and between the players on things like what are the salaries. The NLL, you get the playing salary and you get the marketing salary. And in the NLL, that's sent to an email to every player. You know what all your teammates are making. You know what the contracts look like. And in the PLL, it was like, oh, yeah, here's our salary cap. Meanwhile, we're hearing that some people in the league are making, 3-4 times the playing salary under this marketing salary, so that the total, the total spend and the total income was significantly more, but they could advertise, listen, this guy's only making, 40 grand. Why are you asking for more? So there's still some things that need to be ironed out.
Right.
Some of it rumors, some of it not. But the second it is, I think this league goes to Mars because you'll see a much better on-product field separating the coach and the GM role.
Yeah, I think I don't know about the rumors or rumors, so I'm not talking about that. But I do agree with you 100%. I think when the GMs and coaches get separated and, we start seeing the home markets and you start seeing a players association, I do agree that that's when the league will take off. And I always tell people this.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. That's a good opinion.
Yeah, but I was just trying to be smart about it and just kind of just take what you said and just repeat it. Yeah.
Well, hold on, so just to let's just put a quick little button on the Lyle thing. So I think that we've got through everything that we needed to get through there. I think that Court of Appeals has run its course. We can go back to the Court of Public Opinion. That'll be on twitter.com or whatever the hell it is now. I'll tell you what, Dukes, you brought up a good point where, you're talking about, this year's canons, and everyone feels the need to bring up, the 2021 canons. And that's just premium Twitter bullshit where it doesn't matter what you do or what you say. There's always something out there where someone can pull it up to try to prove you wrong. I think it's something that it's what makes Twitter great. It's just a big dumb plague that is just a parasite on all of our brains for years and years and years. And I think that Twitter is one of my favorite drugs in the world. And the fact that lacrosse is now getting to a point where we're just equally as parasitic as the rest of the internet. I think that we're at a great place. And Dukes, I know that you brought up something that you wanted to ask Nick earlier in the episode, and I think it'd be good if maybe we all kind of ran down some of our least favorite and maybe even some most favorite things about Lax Twitter.
Yeah. Nick,
so
did any come to mind?
Yeah, the number one thing is the confidence. I hate the confidence with which everybody says everything. Looking at you, Dukes, but also looking at everybody else. I don't know how people form their opinions, and I know more about your opinion forming than most because there's podcast, there's everything like that. But the amount of times I'll just see something that is blatantly wrong, said with 1,000% confidence, that is correcting somebody that knows 100 times more about the given subject, is far and away my least favorite thing. The confidence with which people are online being idiots and then refusing to provide any sort of backup. Like, I think X, why? Because fuck you, that's why. It's like, well, that doesn't really help me out a lot, but you know what? I'm sorry I engaged in this. So the blind confidence is my number one, not even close to a second.
I kind of can go off that with the confidence. For me, I'm not so sure it's a lacrosse Twitter thing for me. I think it's just a me thing. I think that anytime that it's just like, if I'm going to get into debate, I'm going to be confident about it. That's just my take on
well, being confident is different than like providing reasoning. It's
well, you're not going to provide reasoning on Twitter. I mean, just like you said, it's
yeah, you
Twitter.
are.
There's no reason.
Like, reasoning isn't like.
With you, I could have reason, and I could go back and forth with you, and we'll have a conversation about it. But with most people, they don't want to hear reason. They want to hear
note zap them to death.
Yeah, and then you can note zap them, and then you look like an asshole.
I gotta start getting into note zaps. Oh, I have never posted
note zaps. Like even like a two character tweet.
Yeah. Hey, how's everyone doing? Note zap screenshot.
Dukes, I think I know what your least favorite thing about Lax Twitter would have to be. You deal with them a lot, so I'm waiting to see if you pick this, or else I'm gonna have to take it off your hands. So
I was gonna go with the lacrosse coaches on Twitter.
Oh,
I hate the people. I hate the people that will like pull up the film room and then be like, oh, like look at this, like Brendan O'Neill, blah blah blah. Like they're in my DMs. I'll talk with them. They're nice guys. They're not bad people, but Jesus Christ, like we don't need this right now. It's not supposed to be that serious. And then when you get someone that actually knows, like Nick was talking about, that knows what they're talking about, dunking on them, and they're like, no. And then they go into like a fucking loophole, trying to get themselves out of the hole. I mean, I don't know. That pisses me off. I hate it.
Okay, yeah. I thought at first you were talking like Andy Copeland on Twitter, and I was gonna say I kind of enjoy that every once in a while. Yeah, no, the Lax Twitter coaches like breaking down everything. And listen, there are a few of them that I enjoy as a high school coach. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't taken some shit off of some Lax Twitter coaches and implemented them into either, drills or whatever. So some of them I appreciate, but I agree. Like there was the one guy who, what was he saying? Like Brennan took like the worst shot he's ever seen, like going down the alley. And he's like, this is like, oh, like Duke, like tried to force like the worst shot ever, and this was like such a terrible game strategy. And it's like, well, again, like Brendan O'Neal's a guy to just put the fucking ball in a stick. He's gonna wind up with his hands about 8 feet away from his body, and then he's gonna score a goal, and then everyone can shut up about it. So the fact that you got a guy on Twitter from God knows where saying that Danowski doesn't know what he's doing, pretty wild. I thought
stick to YouTube. The coaches. That's my thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, make sure that everyone is subscribed to our YouTube channel. Leave a couple likes, maybe some comments, helps out with the algorithm and all that stuff. And guess what? Doesn't cost you a lick of money. Doesn't even cost you a single dime. So like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. I really thought that you were going to go with burner accounts on Lax Twitter. Quite easily the biggest batch of cowards known to man. Listen, I think that Lax Twitter right now, we've got a good crop of guys who put their face to their name to their face, and they're not afraid to say complete dumbassery on twitter.com about the beautiful game of lacrosse. We have so many people out there just spewing out opinions left and right. Some of them are right. Some of them are dead wrong. Some of them are the dumbest things that you've ever heard ever. Not pointing any fingers here or anything like that. The fact that there are then people who are such cowards and just total bozos that they're going to go ahead and set up an anonymous account, a burner account, and just to bitch about everything. Those people suck. And also, Nick, I know that you're not a huge fan of the lax betting accounts, those burner accounts as well. So pretty much anyone who doesn't put their actual name or face to the account, got to get those people off of Lax Twitter.
About starting a burner. Like, it just seems like so much fun.
Sounds like something that a guy with a burner would say to throw everyone off his tail.
My problem
I thought about it.
My problem would be like, I'd sign off and be like, and dash Nick, like, you're stupid, you suck, you're ugly.
You'd Kevin Durant yourself, or you'd say like, hey, like, great idea, Nick, and it turned out to be like you're saying.
I'd give myself up right away. The frustrating thing with burners is the world is truly your oyster. You can be anyone you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. Why do you choose to be a loser? Like, I don't inherently have a problem. Like, Ghetto Gary Gate on Instagram, pretty funny meme account. I like some of the stuff that they post. Some other burner accounts, I'm like, that's kind of funny. No context across. I don't know who runs that, but it's an all right account. And then people make fake accounts to be losers. That's the part that drives me crazier. Like, look, we're up 7 units off of our hypothetical money. Follow us, DM us, join our Discord. Like, of all the things, like, I'm certainly not a fan of that, like, Mikey Over guy who like does that and jersey swaps with Michael Sowers. Like, that guy kind of want to just slap him around a little bit. But I respect that he's like, at least, hey, you're a horrific gambling account, but good on you. There's a need for that. The world your oyster, I'm going to choose to be a loser. That's where anonymous accounts really just drive me nuts. Why would you choose to be a loser? Be funny, be anything. But a loser? Come on. Are we doing a snake, or is it my turn again?
Yeah, we're just kind of just rattling off. Yeah, your turn.
We're just chopping it up.
God, I had a good one. In the same vein of like people who are confident about being an idiot, the players who say I'm right because I played at a high level, that drives me kind of nuts. And I'll throw Greg Gorenly in under the bus here because the example of that was the USA roster build. Granted, they ended up winning gold, but the entire idea of like, I like this roster. Well, Greg, I have criticisms of it. Well, did you ever play for Team USA? Did you ever face off? Did you ever play in Israel? Did you ever do this? No, that doesn't mean that an opinion is invalid. And again, it all goes back to like staying on topic of an argument. Anybody can have an argument. Anybody can have an opinion. But if you're blindly making an opinion and you're an idiot about it, up yours. And if you played at a high level and you're saying, I know this because you don't know what you're talking about because you didn't play for Team USA. Well, that's also the dumbest thing that you could possibly do. And it discredits your own opinion. Like, play at a high level and explain why the rosters were structured that way, as opposed to I did it, you didn't. Now, again, everything that I say, I like to lean into the extremes of it. So like, I like saying, oh, well, where did you play? Like as a total bit. but it comes from a place of very real frustration. Why would you say, oh, well, you only played D3, you didn't even play anything like that? You just showed your hand as being an idiot.
Yeah, it's in every sport though. It's like, oh, you didn't play. You didn't play in the Fiesta Bowl. Like, okay, you can't talk about college football now. Like, I
do think that though.
I kind of do.
You did play in the Fiesta Bowl, did you not?
That's why I talk across.
Yeah,
but like, just people are just like, you can't have an opinion because you didn't play. It's like, I'm not, and this is just for everyone just to know. I don't consider myself like an analyst or anything. I'm a fan. I just like to talk. I like to shit post. I like to get into Twitter arguments. That's really it. I'm just a fan who likes the game. An expert, never claimed to be. I'd say that's something. I don't even know if this is hate more than I love, but this happened the other day on Instagram. This happened on Twitter. But when someone talks shit to me, I'm like, oh my God, what are you guys doing with that stupid ass account? And then I'm just like, look at the DMs and they're like, hey man, really love what you guys are doing with the Crease. Yeah, that's something I love. And then it's like, get someone that actually played the cross. It's like, where do you play? And it's like D2 Limestone, Final Four back-to-back years. And it's like, okay, like let me check out your stats. And then you're a bench player. It's like, come on, man. It's just like, stop talking like you just won the national championship with Notre Dame. So those people are just the worst.
Another one for me is like the people that did achieve a level of success, and like, you pull away the banner of like, these are pro athletes, right? I was one. Dukes, you weren't, so I know what I'm talking about and you don't. And then seeing people go on and do shit that I'm like, I saw you black out and piss your pants on Friday. Why are you talking about your workout routine on Saturday? Like, going on with these online personas about grinding and how hard you have to work and everything like that, which leads me to maybe my least favorite thing, not just in Twitter, but in the entire sport of lacrosse, the phrase grow the game. I've become the biggest hater of that phrase. Grow the game by coming to our tournament that nets us $500K. Grow the game by coming to our clinic. Grow the game. I'm growing the game by this, contributing to the discourse of lacrosse on Twitter. What are we talking about here? Like, everybody is in the same agreement. Lacrosse has been the fastest growing sport for my entire life. We're still not very far. Lacrosse, every single person is dedicating their life seemingly to growing the game. Don't see anybody else doing shit to grow the game. Like, there are so many things. And again, to speak strictly on my own experience, started a company to go out and road trip to work with lesser non-developed areas at an affordable price point. Was living out of a fucking van to do so. Pandemic ruined me financially. Doubled down. Started Second Slide to take money that apparel companies were making and funnel it back into programs. Worked for the SEALs. I'm an analyst. I do all this stuff. And anytime someone says you're doing a lot to grow the game, shut up. Like, we're all just out here doing things. Stop pretending that you're some hero by saying grow the game because you decided to run a free clinic once a year in a place that forgot about you 4 hours after the clinic was over. I'm done now with that.
Well,
that's a great point, but I would like to say really quickly that I definitely grow the game more by going to the Bar Down Lounge, which you can too by buying your tickets in Baltimore this weekend.
Good plug.
This guy's a pro. I think, the grow the game, especially when it comes to like people putting on these these summer tournaments or these showcases or whatever. Like, I think grow the game at this point in lacrosse, it's almost become like the like saying no offense before you say something and then saying something really offensive. Right. It just gives you like carte blanche to say or do whatever you want to do. But like, you're like, but I'm growing the game by doing it. So,
I have no problem. Like, I am running a business to make money. I want to be rich one day off of the work that we're doing with Second Slide. What I will not pretend to do is to be some hero because I'm saying that it's growing the game, even though the underlying model objectively is a better decision for communities. Like, we think that in the end wins and makes all of us a shitload of money. The programs, us, everybody. It's the people that, hey, we're going to do, it's like carbon offsets. We donated $500,000 to protect the forest that was already there. So by not cutting down the trees, we're actually pretty great people. What are we talking about? Like, you're making it try to sound like you're doing something great when you're lining your own pockets. Just say that you're making money. Say that you're in this for the reasons that you are. Stop gaslighting, dog whistling, race baiting, all that other stuff, convincing me that you're trying to be a great person when I know you're not.
But then to bring it back to Twitter, it also then allows people to that, because we got into a little bit of a grow the game off between Dukes and Ottawa.
I would like wait. I would
on Twitter, because like it gives you that ability to be like, hey, I'm growing the game, and so all of a sudden Nick Ossello is a burner account. We lost his so he's a Twitter egg. There he goes.
Sorry, there, yeah.
So but it gives you the ability to then put yourself, like, better yourself than everybody else out there on Twitter. Like, I'm growing the game, and like
a place of fake moral authority to put someone else down.
Yes, those. Thank you, Nick. I needed that big brain of yours to put the words into my mouth.
You did get into a grow the game off, by the way. Don't try to downplay.
No, Nick.
Yeah.
No. I'll stick up for myself here. I saw where you're going to, but that guy completely took a shot at me in a grow the game. It wasn't like I was like, I grow the game more. It was very ironic, where I was like, I'm doing more growing the game by drinking, but he was making fun of me for that than like anything you could do. I will apologize to Ottawa Capital Lax. I did not know that he ran a youth clinic. I just thought he was a Twitter shit poster.
Ottawa Capitals Lax is the name. It's the Ottawa Capitals.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I didn't know that. So when you said that, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm an asshole.
What is funny is I have a call with his son after this to talk about getting them a Second Slide store. And his son plays in the NLL. So you got all kinds of people that are just going to hate you.
But I'm used to that. That's a 25-year thing.
And that's another stupid thing. Maybe another thing that I hate about, maybe not lacrosse Twitter in general, but lacrosse in general, is like, in order for the sport to advance, you need to check boxes that people love sports for. Like, what do you think of when you think college football? You're probably not thinking of sitting in the stands, watching Georgia Tech run the triple option. I think of playing cornhole in a parking lot when I look down, I'm holding one bag and I see 3, because I've had 45 Coors Lights. I see 4 F-15s fly over, and I get all fired up because there's the band, there's the pageantry, there's this and that. Lacrosse is not at a place to replicate college football yet, of course. We all know that. But there are these things exactly like what the Bar Down is doing. Like, it doesn't have to be so focused on, what are the X's and O's of this? I just want to have some drinks, be around lacrosse, watch a behind the back goal, watch a Hail Mary, watch a hook and ladder, do all of these different things. So to claim that someone like, again, it's this grow the game off, I'm in a better place of moral authority because I'm doing X, whereas you're doing Y. We're all pushing the same ball. Right. We're all moving the same needle. And if no one else is going to do it, like, if the Bar Down ceased to exist and there wasn't a fun, what are 21-year-old to 26-year-olds? Why would they care about the PLL? They're working their first job out of college. And my problem, not my problem, but I think the biggest problem with pro outdoor lacrosse, they're not competing against the MLB. They're competing against a beach, a grill, cornhole, partying, and bars. Like, you're competing with summer. So you need to incorporate that into what the PLL is to cater to that 21 to 27 demo, to make it fun for them, make them give a shit by having fun there. Like, I think they should double down on that and have like, hey, we're having the cornhole tournament, BYOB, in the parking lot before the game. Right. If you're between 21 and 25, you get a free ticket. Like, I think there are a lot of levers to pull that would make lacrosse at least have an attempt for why a lot of people, in that younger demographic love sports in general. It's a way to get outside and booze and have fun and shoot the shit with your friends. And I think to discredit that and just say that, well, yeah, go and drink beer, that's really good. It is really good. It's more needed than a lot of other initiatives that I think lacrosse grow the game people are taking up.
Well, I know you got to go to
Dukes, you were just like that right there. That was just. I don't think that there's a more ringing endorsement for why you need to be the biggest booze hound in America this weekend at Homewood Field at the Bar Down Beer Lounge.
And I mean, if I was doing the own Bar Down, I'd dust you guys. I'd be way funnier, way more handsome. I'd be mingling, talking to the people. People would go, that guy's a pretty good guy. his head was a little shiny, but that's okay. So a good silver medal, Dukes, it's a good silver medal.
Second place is what I'm best at. But before you go, I'm just talking about just what the PLL could help out with. I've had this thought with Jordy. You think Monday Night Lacrosse would do with the PLL?
I don't think any of the players would be able to make it because they can't take off work. But for the casual fan, I do think it would give them something to look forward to after work when nothing else is on. I think that would be a great idea.
Would you be willing to take that job as a announcer or on
100%? If it's announcing, I'm in. It's the greatest job of all time. I'm actually trying to talk to some football programs to like make a run at it. Because I did play in the Fiesta Bowl where you didn't. So keep your mouth shut when it comes to college football because you don't have an opinion. But if there's a career to be made, announcing is where it's at. You get to go to the game for free. They don't even make you buy a ticket. They pay you. You get to wear makeup and feel like a cute, handsome little guy. And then you get to say, like my favorite bit lately has I'll go hanging out with a buddy. I'm like, yeah, what channel's the game on? And they're like, oh, I think it might be ESPN. I'm like, dude, I really don't want to talk about work. Like, please don't bring up ESPN. And then the second best thing is, so I work for the Seals broadcasting, but I got bumped up to like the national West Coast broadcast last year, brag. And so I got, I think like 2 payments from like ESPN or whatever the agreement was, NLL, ESPN. And the check is written out and the job title, it's just called talent. So it's like, oh, here's, X amount for the talent of the broadcast. Dudes, what do your checks say? Do they say talent?
You're moron.
Well, you must not be very talented.
Racist. Racist.
Would you announce from the Bar Down Beer Lounge? By the way, you get to go to the game for free when you're announcing the game, but you can pretty much go to the game for close to free this weekend in Baltimore. Only $22 get you into the door. Then anyone 21 or over can come into the Bar Down Beer Lounge, grab themselves a couple icy cold ones. Maybe you can go up to Dukes or Billy and get them in a little chug off. Nick, you'd probably lose those chug offs. You seem like a guy who likes to, I don't know, sip on a nice. I don't even know what you'd be sipping on these. I know. You'd probably be. I don't know. I don't want to like make fun of you for not drinking because I think that's. I think that's a good thing. Like that's
taking
like
a big step back from drinking. 4th of July was. I was like, maybe I should keep an eye on this because that was not my best performance.
I was gonna make fun of you for like drinking like some sort of like mocktail or non-alcoholic, but then at the same time, it's like I don't want to make fun of people for not drinking booze because that's like a tough. It's like a tough thing to.
It's not like I really think that everybody should make fun of everybody for everything. Yeah. Like so, yeah. Like take a dig, and if it offends a guy who's recovering from alcoholism, learning to laugh at yourself, like self-loathing, is a great path towards self-improvement, and you're going to have some great bits along the way of that path. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I've just been seeing too many Canadians on Twitter to be able to laugh at myself. So I'm they've been rubbing off on me.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Canadians are so funny in person, and then they just get online and put on a diaper and shit their pants. I really, who's a funny Canadian? I mean, I guess you got, the spitting chicklets guys and like a random hockey guy every now and again. But I mean, who's a funny Canadian in the lacrosse world online?
Besides guy, I think, I don't know how funny he is. I enjoy like Del Bianco on Twitter. I like the goalies on Twitter.
Yeah.
They're
not funny, but
Back of the Bird's funny.
Yeah.
Like I at least saw one of their tweets the other day, and it gave me a chuckle. I got a chuckle.
I mean, yeah, I loved producing that because I just fuck up the episode every time. They're like, "Hey Nick, wrong intro again. You mind getting it right once?" And I'm like, sorry, we're all shitty. So,
all right, well, yeah, that's enough of you. That was fun. It was good. Oh, what a fucker.
Was great.
What a fucker. All right. Well, so Dukes, I think we got to a good point there. Again, I don't think that anyone's necessarily going to listen to that entire episode and see where we got to and how we got there. But the fact is we laid it all out there. Now it's up to everyone on Twitter to continue to either shit on you or get your back. And that's That's all we can ask for. Just keep the conversation going. I think that's good for all of us. Like I know that we said that we aren't just orchestrating takes for the hell of it, but I will say I do love having a lot of the conversation in the lacrosse community revolving around our show. If we're just being totally honest and totally transparent, I do love people talking about the show, good or bad.
It's also one of those things where it's like when it comes down to it, my take was genuine. I still believe that the Cannons are better off without him, even though I think he's still a great player. Both those things can be true, by the way. I know that might be like a wild concept, but at the end of the episode, I feel way more comfortable with my take. I feel like I didn't really get to like shut down the racist claims, which I would have loved to done. So I just like to do that now. I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. So I'll just want to shut that down. But yeah, I mean, also like when it came down to it, when Nick was like, why were you replying to all these people? I'll tell you why. Because when he's talking about talents up, I'm in the clicks business. Where like if I see there's a dialogue between something that I started, I'd be a coward to run away from it. The more I talk about it, the more people are like, what is he talking about? The more they'll go look at the clip, and like 100,000 people viewed the the take. It's like that's great for the game of lacrosse. That's great for the Crease Dive brand.
Oh, you're growing. You're growing everything right there.
I'm not growing the game. I'm growing the social account. Growing that bank account.
Yeah. So make sure you guys are, make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Crease Dive on both. We are also Stool Crease Dive on TikTok. Let's grow everything. Just gains on gains on gains on gains. All right. Well, so listen, Cannons they're a wagon right now. They've been an unstoppable force for the past 4 weeks. Right. We won't get a chance to see them until the final game of this weekend as the PLL heads to Homewood. Always an unbelievable weekend for the game. This place is going to be packed out. Pretty sure it's basically sold out right now, but as we've mentioned before, there are still a few tickets available. If you we've got the link up on our socials. You can get a ticket for $22 that gets you into the building, and then anyone 21 or older can come into the bar down lounge. And we've got 4 great games on deck for this weekend. 2 of them are going to be on ABC. It all gets going this Saturday, August 5th, 3 p.m. We've got Archers taking on Atlas. I mean, dude, Archers, Water Dogs last week, what a game. Goals galore. And I mean, this obviously, I mean, the combination of pretty much everyone that the Archers have rolling on offense right now between, Schreiber, Connor Fields, just having, I don't know if it's a resurgence out of Connor Fields, but I feel like this is like the best Connor Fields season that we've had probably since that first PLL season.
I think that him and Mac, just with the 2-man pick and roll, just being able to bounce off each other. I think that Connor's definitely more of a shooter than a passer, but the way they've been able to do the 2-man with that, like with Grant going to the midfield, still got Matt Moore down low. That Archers offense is legit, which is kind of crazy. They are, to me, the best team in the league, but at the same time, I don't know if I feel as confident in them winning it all.
See, I feel like it's them or the Water Dogs. It's them or the Water, and we say it every single week. It's them and the Water Dogs because I feel like I give them the edge because I still think, and we'll see it this weekend for sure. Just how much the face-off continues to either matter or not matter. But we'll definitely see it this week between Sis and Baptiste at the face-off stripe. Then we'll also see what happens with the final game of the weekend in Water Dogs Cannons to see. Obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday, so the lineups aren't out yet, but I can't imagine either of those teams are dressing a face-off guy. But I mean, yeah, we'll see what that Sis versus Baptiste matchup looks like. I think Baptiste has been doing an unbelievable job at just being a little bit more creative with his exits lately. We'll see if Sisselberger will be able to kind of keep up with that. And if he can hold his own in this matchup here, then I don't see any reason why they're not clearly the best team in the league. They've got an elite offense. They've got bullies on defense. Oh my God. How much Graham Hosick might have had the best bully game of the year last week. Just laying by, that man is a shit brick house. And if you come onto his train tracks, you are done. So, I mean, just bullies on defense, and then Dauber between the cage, been unbelievable. Atlas able to kind of keep their season alive last week with a big win there. I still think that there's a lot of issues there with their defense and goaltending, and just things haven't really been clicking for them. So I think this is one where if the Atlas are able to keep this tight with the Archers, I think that that's enough of a win for them. But I could definitely see this getting ugly.
Yeah, this one's a tough read for me because I don't really believe in that Atlas defense at this point of the year. Still think the offense is enough to keep this one close. As of right now, I guess my safe bet is I don't really want to touch the spreads at all. I'll probably stick with Archer's money line, probably throw it into a parlay, but Archer's money line would be where I lean right now. Official plays will be out on my Twitter page, D's up 00GS. By the way, want to have a real quick talk about my picks. Fairfield, 3-0. Forgot to place the first game bet, but I probably would have bet on the Water Dogs who lost, or the Whip Snakes who lost. So 3-1 in Fairfield, 4-0 clean sweep last week. I think we had 7-1 going into this weekend. Am I the hottest gambler in PLL history? Most are saying.
Does that mean that does water find its level, or are we keeping this going?
We're keeping this going. I'm seeing the board extremely well.
All right. We've got, so that game's 3 p.m. on ABC. I think, again, I love these ABC games. I think that little extra juice in the game when it's a nationally televised broadcast. So I see a lot of goals in this one, but most of those goals coming from the Archers. So I'd agree with you there. Archers money line. I would definitely take the over in that one as well. So 3 p.m. on ABC. 5:30 p.m. we've got the Whip Snakes taking on the Chrome. Whips pulling out a great win against Chaos last week. Another team that's just keeping their season alive there. All you have to do is just not be in the very bottom. And unfortunately right now, the Chrome have found themselves in the bottom. And before we get into this game, obviously we should probably talk about the Dylan Malloy situation going on with Chrome LC right now. So Dukes, tough one for you. I know that this has probably been keeping you up at night a little bit, but the Chrome ended up releasing Dylan Malloy, and as the story goes so far, it seems like Dylan Malloy unhappy with his standing with the Chrome. Chrome probably a little unhappy with how Dylan Malloy has been playing so far this season, or playing and or not playing. So they came to an agreement. Coach Sudan said, hey, listen, I'll see if I can trade you. And if no one's going to trade for you, I'll put you on the waiver wire. If anyone picks you up, then fine. But if no one picks you up, I'll be happy to claim you. So clearly a trade wasn't going to transpire. He gets released, and still no word yet on if he'll be claimed. But what do you think? Obviously, I guess by the time that people are listening to this, if you're listening to this early, then nothing's happened so far. So you're just in the dark as we are.
It's probably the worst time in the season to be released to the waiver wire, because it's not like the teams are really figuring out who they want to be or what their identity is. This is when you start coming to who's my 19-man roster going to be going forward into the playoffs and for the playoff push. So if the Cannons, for a team that I think he could fit well on, even coming out of the box or something, I'm not touching him. If I'm the Redwoods, I'm only touching him if I'm trying not to get that last, if I'm fighting for a playoff spot and we have no other options. So I just think it's a bad time for Dylan to kind of reach to get in waiver period or the player or whatever. I think that sure he'll fine. I still think he's 1 year removed from being second in points for the Chrome, who were the second seed last summer. They won the PLL Championship Series. He was the MVP. So I think that he's still obviously a good player. And yeah, I think he's better than Cross Ferrara. I think that this is when you have to separate the GM from the coach. I think that Pseudo's probably got a suck on for Cross. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I think that Dylan's a great player. I think that Nick Turn is kind of done with the PLL. So I think that right now they're trying to see what their attack line is going to next year. And they're obviously happy with Morrill and with Snausius. And they're trying to think for the future with Cross. But it won't even matter because Cross Ferrara will probably only start for this year, and then they'll get Brendan O'Neill.
Well, so one, I agree that Brendan would come in and kind of take that spot over for sure. I don't know if he'd have a hard on for Cross Ferrara. It's not like he's been dressing this entire summer, but in the games that he's gotten in, all but one of them,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I think his second game of the season he went a little silent, but I mean, first game of the season, monster game out of him with the game winner. And this past weekend in Dallas, the guy had 3 goals. So, um, listen, I think listen, is Dylan Malloy better than Cross Ferrara? Probably, but like I just think that right now there just aren't that many guys, and we kind of talked about this with like there are only so many guys that are like truly a full level above everybody else. Like there are like little like there are tiers and then there are levels, right? And I think that Dylan Malloy and Cross Ferrara are probably on the same level. Dylan Malloy might be a tier up in that level, but he's not an entire level above. You know, like does that make sense? What I'm trying to say? Like
I know what you're saying, but I totally disagree in the sense. Like Crossbar, what? Like he's played 4 games this year. Two he's played he's played well. Like it's not like the guy's like bad at lacrosse. He's obviously professional. He's better than me. Not saying anything like that. He's also had 2 games where he hasn't showed up. He's still in the bus. So like we kind of know what we can get out of Crossbar until he starts doing it consistently. Like Malloy has done it consistently at least.
Right, but that's
looking forward to
but like that's
future. I get it.
Yeah, but that's just like Cross just hasn't had the amount of time to prove that he can do it consistently. Like I think that on a talent level, like you put him out, like guy had 3 goals. Like a production and talent level, guy had 3 goals. Like I don't know what more you would want out of him or how much more you could get out of someone else in that situation. Like I don't like there are just guys who can do things that no one else in the world can do. And I'm not entirely sure. Like I think that Dylan Malloy can do a lot of things so much better than anybody else out there, but I don't think that there's something that he does that no one else can really do. So like I think you can put Cross Ferrara there and he can do those things, maybe not as well every single time, but he could like I don't know. Like I just think that right now the fact that like no one is going to trade for him, and then I guess we'll see if anyone picks him up on the waiver wire, like that'll truly be telling of like how tight the gap is for roster spot in the PLL. Like there are just so many guys who are so good, and you need to be so much better than anybody else to make sure that like your spot is like never leaving.
The last thing I'll kind of touch on, I don't really think it's ever going to be a talent thing for the coaches for why they wouldn't want Dylan Malloy. I think it's just everything from the outside looking in or from coaches talking to coaches, and it could be something in that regard why they wouldn't want him in their locker room or something. But I don't think it's a talent thing with Dylan. I mean,
yeah, I'm also not saying that he's not, like this is more of me saying that Cross Ferrara is really fucking good, as opposed to me saying that Dylan Malloy isn't. Like, I'm not saying Dylan Malloy's washed. Like, he's still like a sick lacrosse player. I'm saying that like I don't think like I don't know. I think it'd be unfair to say that Cross Ferrara can't be at least producing at a similar level.
Yeah. I don't know.
In the pros, like I understand Cross Ferrara is never going to have a Torres onto his name. I get that. Like he'll never be able to catch up in that regard. But like as a professional player, like I think that he can go in and he can give you 3 goals a game. And if you do that for a full season, it's like the same production that you'd be getting anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I've seen him also just not show up. I'm not going to base it off like 2 games that I've seen him play good.
All right. Well, either way, I think right now there's just so much going on with that Chrome team. Way too much. Just a lot of distractions going on in the locker room. Don't know just how on page everybody is with on that team. So I think that this should be easy pickings for the Whip Snakes to get themselves on a winning streak, something that they desperately need to do. So it'll only be 2 games, but I think that that'll be their first actual streak of the season. First probably streak since last summer, since they also couldn't get anything going in the championship series.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. I'm just sorry. I was just reading something, but yeah.
All right. So, yep, final two games of the weekend. That brings us to Sunday, 1 p.m., also on ABC. We've got the Redwoods, who need to get back on track here. They've dropped two in a row. Obviously, they got crushed in Fairfield, and then last weekend they got crushed again, 16-10 by the Cannons. This week, they will be taking on the Chaos. Chaos dropped a tight one to the Whip Snakes last week. They were also without Dylan Ward, who was on paternity leave. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how long that's going to last for Dylan Ward.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So we'll find out then. So it'll be a little bit tough to make the call on that one. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking about the wrong guy. Wow. I was thinking about so many box players on the Chaos that I just put Dylan Ward into that. Yeah, obviously, Blaze will be between the pipes, so we could just. All right, I caught that quick enough. So if you were like yelling at me in your car for like the last 10 seconds, being like Dylan Ward doesn't play for the Chaos,
we're not going to edit that out.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's been a long episode.
Yeah, I know. Someone's driving to Baltimore right now. They were about to just fucking jerk the wheel on 95, being like, he doesn't play for the Chaos.
Oh, I played G1.
Either way, Redwoods Chaos should be a great one. Another game on ABC. And again, you just need to find a way to get more people involved with the Redwoods right now. Just trying to look back at how that game played out last week against the Cannons. You get a lot of cursed on cursed crime, by the way, that Redwoods Cannons game. So I know that our boy Nestler probably had to be loving it. Yeah, so a big curse game. You got, a big Westburg game. So if we can get a little bit more of that, just more guys pitching in to help out Ryder and Pinnell, should be good.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chaos in this one. I think that Redwoods it's crazy because Rob Pinnell has played so well this year. I feel like I kind of thought that it was not a resurgence because he hasn't been gone, but almost an MVP caliber year. Same with Ryder. It just sucks to see what's kind of happened to the Redwoods. But yeah, I'm fading them. I'm going with the Chaos -1.5. I think what week are we in? Week 7, week 8. Chaos are clicking. We know what they're going to do. If we did a weekly power ranking, they probably wouldn't be 1 or 2. But once it comes to the playoff times, they'll always be up there. They'll always be competing. I think Blaze knows it's on the line, especially after last week, dropping that to the Whip Snakes. So I expect Blaze to win this one for them. I'm going Chaos -1.5.
I do think that the Lax Gods definitely owe one to the Chaos here as well, for the fact that goal, the air gate from Josh Byrne, wiped off the board last week after. I mean, listen, was it a good challenge by Coach Staggs? Sure. Was it greasy to take that goal away from the lacrosse world for the rest of history? Absolutely. Unbelievable. Would have been goal of the year, maybe one of the best goals scored in the league. Josh Byrne, just such an electric player. Every single time he's on the field, he's doing something nuts, but that was something that was crazy to see. Would have been sick, but Stags has to hate fun and took that one off the board for everybody. So yeah, Lax Gods will definitely try to even out the playing field for the Chaos in that one. So we'll definitely see them getting a couple good calls in this game. So maybe that could be the kicker. Would love to see a tight game. Just want to see something going right here for the Redwoods, though, because I agree. It is a little sad to see how the state of affairs have turned after, the past couple weeks in the season. And that will bring us into the final game of the weekend. We've got the Water Dogs taking on the Cannons. So now we can get to Dylan Ward's paternity leave. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out once the lineups come out. I guess as you're listening to this today, but as we're recording this, we still don't know yet. Cannon's been playing unbelievable. Dukes, you've been all over this team. Do they keep it rolling, or do the Aqua Pups, get themselves back into the win column? They'll have yourself, Billy, myself in attendance at the Bar Down Beer Lounge. So, they played pretty well in front of us the last time we were all together in Fairfield. Might have a little bit of juice with at least a couple partial owners between yourself and Billy in attendance.
For my dime right now, I'm saying that the Cannons and the Water Dogs are the 2 best teams in the league at the moment. And I'd put them above the Archers. I think that Dylan Ward does make a difference in net. I think if Dylan Ward plays, they got that dub last week. Cursed has been what I think you need exceptional goaltending to win it all in the PLL. Nestler's probably backstage going to be mad about this, but I'm not ready to put Colin Kirst in the elite category yet. But boy, he's making it pretty hard. I mean, he just makes the saves he has to make. He's saving like when you save anything above 60%, he went for like 64 and 63 in his last two outings, and he makes it pretty hard to have an argument against him. I think he's been quietly one of the most underappreciated players for this Cannons team, one of the most underrated players, maybe like in the rookie sophomore class. So yeah, I'm going to roll with the Cannons in this one, going against my Dogs. I just think that there's something special going on at the moment. The offense, defense, and how about Jack Healty? He does not get enough love for how good he is. I think he's one of the best defensemen in the PLL in general, and just nobody talks about him. And I'm not really sure why. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Cannons do, how they solidify that back end. Like, will they go with Max Wayne? Will they go with CBR? Who will be their polls? So yeah, and the battle of no faceoffs, we'll also just start seeing like the rock, paper, scissors, like who wants to pick up the ball between like Ethan Rawl, who's been amazing, and Gobret. So yeah, I think by the way, Eli Gobrecht, he's got to be in the conversation for MVP.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I feel like this Water Dogs defense, and sure, they benefit a little bit now from having a guy like Dylan Ward between the pipes, but like they just have so many of these really underrated polls, just such a great defensive unit, and not just even their polls. Like I think that they've got some of the best D middies in the game as well.
Of course, yeah, they keep them so fresh. They just four.
Yeah, so I mean, you got Witcher, Higgins, Scarpella, like
Hayes,
just a great defensive unit with Gobrecht and Liam Burns, and I think that this is a team right here where obviously everything's kind of clicking for the Cannons offensively. They have that obviously the most efficient offense in the game. I think that this is probably the best defensive unit. Obviously like Gobrecht's having an insane season. But I think like what's great about the Water Dogs defense is that they're very similar to the Cannons offense, to where like, I guess like Gobrecht would almost be like their version of Asher Nolting, but like it's kind of like an everybody eats defense. And then you've got the everybody eats offense against with Cannons. So it's a great matchup there. I think that this is a beauty of a game to end the weekend on. Should be tight. Again, it kind of comes down to me if Dylan Ward's in net or not. But also just want to shout out Thomas McConvey having a great summer so far. So I'm going to side with Water Dogs, even with or without Dylan Ward in there, but I'll feel a little bit more confident if he's back.
Yeah, it's like I agree with your sentiment. It's one that came across my head too. It's just I think that like the Cannons defense has been, I think, equally as good and cohesive, and that kind of goes with, I think, with Kirst, and the defense is putting it together. But yeah, that's what I have. The Cannons money line. Before we get going, we have Nestler backstage for his intern minute. Talk about War at the Shore.
Fellas, we got demolished at War at the Shore. I talked a lot of smack, didn't back it up. That's a prime example of how not to win Curse to the week. We went 2-3 on the weekend, but had an unreal time. Yeah, we definitely got lit up a little bit. We're a little older than we remembered. I think we got to recruit some more young bucks and maybe some more defensemen. My older brother, he's probably 42, he's in his 30s. Shout out to him playing well in the goal, and shout out everyone else. But just one thing I want to touch on. Shout out to one team who showed up Sunday morning to win their first playoff game, and then we went to play them, and they decided to forfeit and decided to talk shit on the way out and didn't want to play. That team sucks. You know who you are. And then I got to find their team name. We'll get into it next week. You got to find like a deep picture somewhere. But they were hating on Cabrini. They were talking a lot of smack, and they forfeited after waking up at like 7:45 in the morning. So they had plenty of guys. Not too sure why they did that. But and also anti-Salisbury podcaster from here on out. We ran into them. They beat us again. It's just a tale as old as time. I'm tired of it. Fuck Salisbury. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. But
fuck Cross Ferrari.
Fuck Cross Ferreira. He can clip it. He'll probably put up clips of him scoring the game winner on OT against me last year, 2 years ago. But either way, all press is good press.
Tell you what, you said that you'll talk about it until you're blue in the face. Looking a little red in the face right now. Nestler, you not pack any sunscreen with you toward the shore?
So I did. I put on a couple layers of sunscreen. I'm definitely red. I ate a lot of sun rays. I don't breathe much when I talk. So I just I just sort of cruise and get more red when I talk. But I'm definitely sunburnt just coming into it. So you're right about that. Cursed of the week. So I want to go into a couple honorable mentions for Cursed of the week. First honorable mention is Mary Lee, our gracious host, the first ever honorable mention of Cursed of the week. She hosted 26 guys under one roof. It was an unbelievable time. Great time with the fellas. Second honorable mention is Cole Kirst. Unbelievable performance. Scores a hat trick on his older brother, Colin. A lot of crease action, but that's what a good lacrosse player does. They're in the right place, right time. And winner of Cursed of the week. Our first ever back-to-back winner, Colin Kirst, baby. Shout out to Colin Kirst. Unbelievable career high, 17 saves to get the Cannons going 4-0. I know the Cannons players are loving it. I know Dukes is loving it. He's not a believer just yet.
No. Yes, I am. I gave him.
Cursed?
I'm a believer in Cursed.
All right, Dukes is a believer in Cursed. You can put it on record. When I go down,
Lyle Thompson's never won back-to-back Curse of the Weeks before.
He has not. That is very true. When I go down this weekend to Baltimore, I plan on presenting Colin Kirst with a little memorabilia for winning back-to-back Cursed of the Week. So we'll see what I can scrape up to give him. But yeah, so first ever from him, and shout out those honorable mentions as well. So it was a fun-filled lacrosse weekend. And Jenks doesn't have ESPN Plus, or they lied to me, and they do. So I was watching it on my phone.
Good
All right, great rundown. Tough performance reward the shore. I'll tell you what, it doesn't get any easier as the years go by. You start to hate these pricks who come fresh out of college every single year, and they just have all the gas in the world. And all of a sudden, you guys are sucking wind between the boxes, and you're like, "Get me out of here! Get me a little booze bag and some more IV." Yeah. So, I think you're almost there. Listen. You're going to come to the Bar Down Beer Lounge while you're in Baltimore, and I think you're really going to start to find out that you're a little better built for watching lacrosse these days than playing. Yeah. We all find it out at some point in life. So I think I found it out after tearing an ACL playing men's league. Dukes, it seems like you found it out after snapping your ankle in 15 places.
I can't go down like that.
You might just have to realize it after going 2-3 at Worth the Shore and then having an unbelievable weekend at the Bar Down Beer Lounge. And tell you what, everybody else in the greater Baltimore area, or even not in the Baltimore area, you can make a trip from anywhere in the world to go there. But you guys are going to have an unbelievable weekend at Homewood Field as you come down. $22 get you into the door. Anyone 21 or over can go into the Bar Down Beer Lounge. Boys, and anything else before we wrap up this episode and get on the road here?
No, I don't. But I think Lyle Thompson's good.
Also, Dukes is not a racist.
I was going to go as my party message as well. Confirmed, not racist.
So just little.
According to the guy on Twitter,
he's not a racist, but I'll tell you what, Dukes will be certified not a racist. Let me just pull up the numbers here real quick. He will be not a racist if we can get the Crease Dive YouTube subscriptions to so right now we are at 1.24K. Let's get it up to 1.3K. Shouldn't take too much more to get us there. So get us to.
And if we don't, we have to fire Nestler.
No. All right, we gotta bump this. I'll get us there.
So let's get the YouTube subscriptions up. Make sure you're following us on social. We are at the Crease Dive on Twitter and Instagram. And in the meantime, we'll be keeping it low to high until the day we die. We out.